I once believed in forever. That's how all these stories begin, don't they? With a woman who thought love was enough, who believed that loyalty was protection, and that marriage was an anchor that held you safe through any storm. That woman was me. My name is Anna, and once upon a time, I was happy. Genuinely, simply happy. I lived in a warm little house just outside the city with my husband David and our daughter Lily. We had 2 bedrooms, a tired but loyal car, and morning routines so predictable they felt sacred. Coffee at 7, kisses by the door, and dinner at 6 with laughter between bites. We were just beginning to stand firmly on our own 2 feet. David had a decent job in construction management, and I worked part-time from home doing freelance graphic design, so I could be there for Lily. We weren't rich, but we were stable, safe, grounded, until my mother came to stay. She was supposed to be with us for just a few weeks. Her apartment building had been condemned, some structural issue that required sudden evacuations. And she needed a place to stay until she figured things out. She was 57, still beautiful in a cold, sharp way, and always had a flair for drama. My relationship with her had never been easy, but she was my mother. And when your mother says she has nowhere else to go, you open your door. At least I did. Week 1, smiles and shared wine. At first, it was actually nice. She brought with her a sense of energy, cooked extravagant meals, insisted on cleaning things that didn't need to be cleaned, told stories from my childhood to Lily, who giggled with delight. David seemed to enjoy her presence too. He said she was charming and surprisingly helpful. Sometimes I'd come downstairs and find them laughing together in the kitchen. It felt warm, familiar, innocent. I should have known better. Week 2. Shifts. I started noticing things. David came home later than usual. When I asked, he said work was getting busy. He was always tired, distracted, and strangely impatient with me. My motheress changed too. She began dressing differently. Tighter shirts, lipstick in the mornings. Her jokes became more flirtatious, her compliments to David slightly too personal. Once, I came into the living room and found her massaging his shoulders. His back was tense, she said, her smile too wide. David didn't even look embarrassed. I wanted to believe I was imagining things, that it was just tension from having someone else in the house. But the tension wasn't just in the air. It was in their eyes. Week 3. The first cut. One night, I woke up thirsty and went downstairs. What I found stopped my heart. In the dim light of the kitchen, my mother and David stood too close, whispering. Her hand brushed his arm. His eyes didn't move away. She laughed softly. He leaned in. They didn't see me. I stood there, frozen in the hallway, clutching a glass I never filled. I said nothing. I returned to bed and stared at the ceiling for hours. Week 4, the lie, I confronted David. He brushed it off, said I was stressed, said I was paranoid. "You're overreacting," he said. "She's your mother, Anna." But his eyes, they were empty, not angry, just done. I asked my mother the same question. Her response? A slow smile and a chilling reply. "You should take better care of your husband." That night, I locked myself in the bathroom and cried on the floor like a child. Week 5. War. The affair wasn't hidden anymore. They stopped pretending. My mother moved into the guest room for space, but David started spending nights there. At first, he would sneak. Then he stopped bothering. They laughed loudly, shamelessly. Sometimes I'd walk in and they'd go quiet, smiling like I was the punchline to a private joke. I wanted to scream. But Lily was there. I had to hold it together for her. My daughter was only 6. She didn't understand why Mommy cried in the shower or why Daddy barely spoke to her anymore. The neighbors noticed. I stopped answering their questions. My friends grew distant. Ashamed, I stopped reaching out. I was losing everything, and they were still under my roof. Week 6, humiliation, I found them once. In my bed. Our bed. Middle of the day. They didn't stop. David looked at me and said calmly, "You weren't using it." That was the moment I stopped being a wife, but I wasn't yet free. Week 7, the proposal. He asked me for a divorce, casually, over breakfast. "We want to make it official," he said, buttering toast. "We, my husband and my mother." I didn't respond. I simply got up and left the table. But I didn't leave the house. I had nowhere else to go. No job that could support me full-time. No family. She was my family, and she had taken him. I existed like a ghost in my own home. They moved into the master bedroom. I took the couch. Week 8. The end of me. Lily was confused. She asked me why Grandma slept with Daddy. I couldn't answer. She said, "Daddy told me you were mean to Grandma, so now she takes care of him." I felt something inside me break that day. One night, I took sleeping pills. I didn't plan to wake up. I left a note that simply said, "You win." But I did wake up, to my mother screaming, not out of concern, but rage. "You're so dramatic," she said. "Always have been." David stood in the doorway and didn't say a word. Months later, a house that wasn't mine. Eventually, they kicked me out. They got a lawyer, claimed the house was in David's name, which it technically was. I had nowhere to go but a shelter. I took Lily with me. David fought for custody, and he won partial rights. Somehow they convinced the court that I was unstable. Imagine having to hand your daughter to the woman who destroyed you. 2 years later, I live in a 1-bedroom apartment now. I work nights at a diner and freelance during the day. I'm tired all the time. But Lily's with me most of the week. She's older now. She knows more. She asks harder questions. David and my mother are still together. They had a child, my half-brother and Lily's half-uncle. How twisted is that? But the cracks are showing. My mother is aging fast. David cheats on her now. Poetic justice, I guess. She cries to Lily when she visits, says David isn't who he used to be. Lily tells me everything. I smile, quietly. I feel nothing. Final thoughts. There was no justice in the end, no dramatic revenge, just silence. But I survived, and sometimes survival is the only victory we get. Morale. Not all betrayals come from enemies. Some walk through the door, calling you daughter and smiling at your husband. And some wounds never fully heal.